Hello, my friends. We're on the last part of my favorite books. My last favorite books, the books that I got to read when I was in middle school, were called the Scary Stories. I have two of them with me. I'm not going to be able to read them all. I'm not going to even be able to read all the stories in the Scary Stories. But I love these books because they were so creepy and it really kind of made me scared. And I liked being scared sometimes, kind of like Halloween. So I'm thinking I'm going to read the story about the little black dog. It's this one right here. The little black dog. Billy Mansfield said that a little black dog followed him wherever he went, but he was the only one who saw it, so people thought he was kind of crazy. To drive the dog away, Billy was always hollering at it, throwing rocks at it, but the dog always came back. The first time Billy saw the dog was the day he fought Celius Burton. Billy was just a young man then, but the Burtons and Billy's family had been feuding for years. When Billy saw Silas riding toward him, he went for his gun and Burton went for his, but Billy fired first. He hit Burton in the back, knocking him from his horse. Burton's horse ran off and his gun fell where he couldn't reach it. He lay there on the ground, pleading with Billy not to kill him, but Billy killed him anyway. Burton's little black dog was with him when he was shot. The little dog kept licking Burton's face and barking and snarling at Billy. In his anger, Billy killed the dog too. There wasn't much law enforcement in those days, so Billy wasn't arrested. But all that night he heard Burton's dog outside his cabin, scratching on his door and barking to be let in. I imagine this, Billy said to himself. I shot the dog, it's dead. But the next morning, Billy saw the dog. It was waiting for him outside. From then on, there was not a day when he didn't see it. And there wasn't a night when he didn't hear it scratching on his door, barking to be let in. From then on, Billy was always finding black dog hairs on the sofa, on the floor, in his bed, even in his food. And the house and the yard stank of dog. That's what Billy said. Whenever somebody told him there wasn't any dog to see, he'd say, maybe you don't see it, but I do. And I'm not any crazier than you are. Things went on like that for many years. Then, one morning in the middle of the winter, the neighbors didn't see any smoke coming out of Billy's chimney. When they went over to check, Billy wasn't there. A day or so later, they found his body lying in the snow in a field back of his cabin. Billy had plenty of enemies, and at first it seemed like somebody might have killed him, but there wasn't a mark on his body, and there weren't any footprints out there except for Billy's. The doctor said Billy probably died of old age, but there was something odd about his death. When the neighbors found Billy, there were black dog hairs on his clothes. There were even a few on his face. It smelled like a dog had been out there, yet no one had seen a dog anywhere. I said it was kind of creepy. All right, let's see. I'm going to read another one. The bad news. Leon and Todd loved baseball. When they were young, they played on the town's baseball team. Leon had been the pitcher, and Todd had played second base. Now that they were a lot older, they spent their free time watching baseball games on TV and talked about baseball. Do you think they play baseball in heaven? Leon asked Todd one day. That's a good question, said Todd. The only one who gets there first should let the other one know somehow. As it turned out, Todd got to heaven first, and Leon waited patiently to hear from him. One day, Leon found Todd sitting in the living room waiting for him. Leon was very excited to see him. What's it like up there? He asked. And what about baseball? When it comes to baseball, said Todd, I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is that we do play baseball in heaven. We have some fine teams. I play second base on my team, just like I used to in the old days. That's the good news? What's the bad news? Asked Leon. The bad news, said Tom, is that you're scheduled to pitch tomorrow. Guess what? He's gonna die. One from the scary story. Ooh, Sam's new pet. This one was really creepy when I read this one. Okay. There is a picture, but it's at the end. So I'm going to read the story and then show you the picture afterwards. Sam stayed with his grandmother when his parents went to Mexico for their vacation. We're going to bring you back something nice, his mother told him. It will be a surprise. Before they came home, Sam's parents looked for something Sam would like. All they could find was a beautiful sombrero. It cost too much. But that afternoon, while they were eating their lunch in a park, they decided to buy the sombrero after all. Sam's father threw what was left of their sandwiches to some old stray dogs, and they walked back to the marketplace. One of the animals followed them. It was a small gray creature with short hair, short legs, and a long tail. Wherever they went, it went. Isn't he cute? Sam's mother said. He must be one of those Mexican hairless dogs. Sam would love him. He's probably somebody's pet, Sam's father said. They asked several people if they knew who its owners were, but no one did. They just smiled and shrugged their shoulders. Finally, Sam's mother said, maybe he's just a stray. Let's take him home with us. We can give him a good home, and Sam will love him. It is against the law to take pets across the border, but Sam's parents hid the animal in a box, and no one saw it. When they got home, they showed it to Sam. He's a pretty small dog, said Sam. He's a Mexican dog, said his father. I'm not sure what kind. I think it's a Mexican hairless. We'll find out. But he's nice, isn't he? They gave the new pet some dog food. Then they washed it and brushed it and combed its fur. That night it slept on Sam's bed. When Sam woke up the next morning, his pet was still there. Mother, he called, the dog has a cold. The animal's eyes were runny, and there was something white around its mouth. Later that morning, Sam's mother took it to the veterinarian. Where did you get him? The vet asked. In Mexico, she said. We think he's a Mexican hairless. I was going to ask about that. He's not a hairless, the vet said. He's not even a dog. He's a sewer rat, and he has rabies. There's a picture. Creepy, huh? Isn't he cute? Let's read about the hog. Here's the hog. When Arthur and Anne were in high school, they fell in love. They were both big, fat, and jolly, and seemed suited to one another. But as sometimes something happens, things didn't work out. Arthur moved away and married someone else, and Anne didn't marry anyone. And not too many years later, she got sick and died. Some say it was from a broken heart. One day Arthur was driving to a small town not far from where he and Anne had grown up. Soon he realized that a hog was following him. No matter how fast Arthur drove, the hog stayed right behind him. Each time he looked back, there was the hog. It began to irritate him. Finally, he couldn't stand it any longer. He stopped his car and rapped the hog on his snout good and hard. Get out of here, you fat, dirty thing, he shouted. To his astonishment, the hog spoke to him, and it was Anne's voice he heard. It's her ghost, he thought. She has come back as a hog. I was doing no harm, Arthur, the hog said. I was just out for a brisk walk, enjoying myself. How could you strike me after all that we meant to one another? With that, he turned and trotted away. She turned. When you tell the story, have the hog speak in a high-pitched voice. I didn't do that, but it does say that. All right, so yeah, these were my next favorite stories because they were creepy and scary and kind of cool. All right, thank you, my friends, for listening, and I can't wait to hear what your favorite stories are.